The purpose of our presentation is to highlight some of the biggest takeaways from our firm's validation study of JAPD's police officer selection procedure. In particular, we'll be highlighting the process of the validation study and the results, including a discussion of utility, fairness, and recommendations for next steps. At K-Squared Solutions, we're a team of talent management practitioners with extensive experience in human resource management and industrial and organizational psychology. We've worked with a number of organizations to optimize performance outcomes. We also have the unique expertise of helping organizations achieve their goals while ensuring diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. Our team participating in this consulting project was Kelly Knox, Valeria Rodrigo, Zane White, and myself, Regina Flynn. In this presentation, we'll share our priorities in selection. Next, Zane will lead us in a discussion of criterion-related validity evidence. Valeria will discuss our utility analysis, and I'll address issues of fairness and bias. Finally, Kelly will provide some recommendations. Then we'll open it up to your team for an opportunity for questions and discuss next steps. When we evaluate a selection system, we view it through the following lenses. First, we look at the validity or the accuracy of our predictions with respect to future job performance. We look at the relatedness to the KSAOs or the knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics. These were previously identified in the job analysis that we conducted and presented on. We also look at the evidence of adverse impact or potential for adverse impact, as we want to ensure that our systems are fair and unbiased. We also look at the cost of development, administration, and implementation. Finally, we look at applicant perceptions and satisfaction. Evidence of validity, relatedness to KSAOs, and fairness are all related to the method's legal defensibility. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Zane, who will discuss criterion-related validity for the various selection methods and models in the system.
Hello, everyone. To investigate the criterion-related validity of the JAPD selection process, we conducted a series of analysis designed to determine the degree of accuracy that the current predictors are successfully predicting JAPD candidate job performance. We began this analysis by conducting zero-order correlations to examine the statistical strength and direction of the relationships between the four current predictors of general mental ability, interview, in-basket test, and knowledge tests, and candidate job performance. The zero-order correlations showed that all four predictors are statistically reliable, positive correlations with job performance. With the zero-order correlations completed, the next step of our analysis was a multiple regression to see how much variance in candidate job performance was accounted for while controlling for the predictive power of each of the predictors within the model. The multiple regression revealed that once we controlled for the statistical power of the other variables, only GMA retained its statistical reliability and accounted for 17.5% of the variance in job performance, with the other predictors each accounting for less than 1% of the variance.
Utility analysis is an important tool during the selection process. It provides managers and recruiters with the necessary information to evaluate the possible financial impact of intervention during the recruitment process and guides them for a better personnel selection. When it comes to utility analysis, it's important to consider two parameters. The first parameter is selection ratio, which is the number of people hired by the number of prospective applicants. When it comes to the selection ratio, it's crucial to consider that its value must range between 0, which indicates a low selection ratio, and 1, which indicates a very high selection ratio. Our firm strongly recommends small ratios in the selection process since it will indicate a greater likelihood of a good selection decision. The second parameter is base rate, which represents the minimum criterion standard necessary for success. In other words, it is a percentage of the current employees that are considered as successful using the current selection procedures or KCOs. Besides, the selection measures are most useful when the base rate is 0.50. Either application of these selection measures could result in various predictive consequences and cost-benefit ratios. Here are three scenarios that include both internal and external factors that could affect your selection ratio. We choose factors that could be present in 0.10, 0.50, and 0.90 selection ratio. The first is the best case scenario with 90% success rate. The second is the middle case scenario with 50% success rate. And the third is the worst case scenario with 10% success rate.
Thanks, Valeria. Ensuring fair and unbiased selection systems is central to our firm's mission. Therefore, I'd like to speak on what our team uncovered when evaluating differential validity between white applicants and black applicants and address the issue of adverse impact as it relates to JAPD's police officer selection system. Differential validity sheds light on if the selection procedure is equally valid across subgroups. Validity coefficients are calculated from the correlations between composite predictor score and the criterion or job performance score. If validity coefficients vary considerably across subgroups, this results in evidence of differential validity. This table illustrates differences in validity coefficients across several different selection models we considered. As you can see, there were considerable differences between validity coefficients for white applicants and black applicants for some of the selection models. When such differential validity exists, using a single regression line, cut score, or decision rule can actually result in inaccurate predictions. Often, evidence of differential validity alone is not enough to create evidence of unfair discrimination between subgroups. In order to do that, we must consider calculating selection rates for each subgroup and determining if there is evidence of adverse impact. Impact in selection refers to the selection procedure being unfair or biased against applicants from a subgroup. There is evidence of adverse impact when a selection rate for any race, sex, ethnic group, or other protected class is less than 80% of the selection rate for the highest group. Therefore, for each selection model, we computed the composite predictor score for each of the 400 applicants using regression weights identified from that selection model. Next, we ranked the applicants from highest to lowest performing and evaluated selection rates for white candidates and black candidates based on three selectivity rates, 10%, 50%, and 90%. To investigate possible adverse impact, we then divided the selection rate for the group with the lowest selection rate by the selection rate for the group with the highest selection rate. If this quotient was less than 0.8, it indicated that there was a presence of adverse impact. Our analysis revealed that when JAPD accepts less than 90% of applicants for any selection model, there's evidence of adverse impact. However, when the selectivity rate is at or above 90%, there's no evidence of adverse impact. As we focus on how this information may impact selection decisions, please note that utilizing different cutoffs for various subgroups, called preferential treatment, is illegal in the United States. Consequently, we'll discuss several legally defensible recommendations. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly. We have 3 buckets of recommendation. Bucket 1 is short-term recommendations. These are hopefully small ones that you can implement easily. Our first recommendation is target minority recruiting. You can do this by increasing your recruiting budget and have community involvement as early interventions like the Girls in STEM programs. Our second recommendation is restructuring the interview. You can do a behavioral structural interview. So you are looking at past behaviors and judging everyone using the same question. An example of a question would be, if you took a violent offender into custody and while en route to booking, you came across a serious vehicle accident, what would you do? Bucket 2 is for the long-term recommendations. Our first recommendation is using the optimization approach. An example is to lower standard for background checks, such as minor infractions like experimental use of illegal drugs. We also recommend developing a customized program for predicting a more well-defined job performance outcome variable. A scale in the short dark triad SD3 personality inventory should be used. SD3 measures the 3 traits of Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopath. High scores within these personality traits have been shown to be the opposite of the integrity tests. For bucket number 3, we recommend a performance management system evaluation. This will help audit the job performance measures and perhaps improve on performance measures. We'd be happy to help implement and elaborate on this recommendation if you would like to extend our current partnership. My team and I would like to thank you